Khamzat Chimaev discusses potential future move to light heavyweight for clash with Alex Pereira. Khamzat Chimaev recently discussed possibly moving up to light heavyweight for a clash against Alex Pereira. The two have gone back and forth in the past, but Boers appears to fancy his chances against the reigning UFC light heavyweight champion due to their respective skill sets. Alex has seen a surge in popularity in the past year, agreeing to defend his title on short notice and providing the UFC with a suitable headliner whenever called upon. He has continued to deliver incredible performances, finishing all three of his opponents this year. While speaking to Michael Bisping ahead of his middleweight clash against Robert Whittaker at UFC 308, Boers answered whether he would consider moving to 205 pounds to challenge Pereira. Chimaev gave props to what Pereira has accomplished and mentioned that he would be interested because of the stylistic matchup. Of course, I've been always open for that fight against Pereira. I know that stylistically, this match for me is much easier than other guys. But in striking, I'm honest. I know the guy can knock me out. The guy is a good striker, one of the best guys with hardest punches. But I'm one of the best grappler, best wrestler. He's not that. Ilia Topuria rules out possibility of defending his title against Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 312. Ilia Topuria last entered the octagon in February as he defeated Alexander Volkanovski via second-round knockout to capture the featherweight title. While the great has not competed since suffering his first career loss at 145 pounds, he has expressed an interest in fighting the winner of this weekend's clash at UFC 312 in Sydney. Ilia Topuria ruled out that possibility, noting that he would not defend his title in hostile territory. If that makes him feel happy thinking that maybe I will go to Australia, that's okay. But in myself, that's never going to happen. I am the champion, and if you want to fight for the title again, it has to be in Madrid instead of fighting in Australia in front of your people. Why would I want to give you that advantage? Topuria expressed interest in being the first fighter to bring the UFC to Spain. He previously shared that, while nothing is set in stone, he is in talks with the promotion to hold his next title defense in the nation in early 2025, provided that he gets past Holloway this weekend. Islam Makhachev's manager puts Dana White's pound-for-pound stance down to promotional tactics. The manager of Islam Makhachev believes Dana White's attempt to downplay the UFC lightweight champion status as pound-for-pound best is entirely down to his efforts to promote Jon Jones. While Jones and the UFC CEO haven't seen eye-to-eye in the past, White has been spreading stories of the heavyweight champ's accolades and his continued superiority on podcasts and during interviews throughout this year. Among White's claims is the suggestion that the rankings panel have massively messed up by putting Makhachev in the pound-for-pound top spot over Jones. During an interview with MMA Fighting, the Dagestani's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, provided his response to White's continued dismissal of Makhachev as being worthy of the pound-for-pound crown. Listen, it's the reason why Dana White is the pound-for-pound greatest promoter on this planet. Jon Jones is fighting next month. He's fighting a guy in Stipe Miocic. This is the best way to promote this fight, to promote Jon Jones. Dana never promoted Jon Jones for some reason, but now he's on Jon Jones's wagon. He can say he's the greatest of all time. Islam Makhachev right now currently is the pound-for-pound greatest fighter in the world by far. It's not even second place. Yair Rodriguez announced the names of potential opponents. Yair Rodriguez revealed in a recent interview with MMA Junkie that despite his hopes of returning before the end of the year, it looks like the UFC has plans for him in the first quarter of 2025. El Pantera last competed in February where he was submitted by Brian Ortega in Mexico City. The former interim champion currently occupies the number 4 ranking at 145 pounds, which puts him in a good place for a big fight that could get him right back into the title picture. We also have Aljamain Sterling and Movsar Evloev being rescheduled for UFC 310, and that leaves a couple names that Rodriguez is yet to meet inside the octagon who could make sense for this time frame. Whilst in attendance in Abu Dhabi for UFC Fight Week, the Mexican star named 2 potential options that have come up in previous conversations. I always look to be fighting somebody that is in front of me or somebody that pushed me to fight for the title again. Names that have been mentioned to me in the past is Diego Lopes, who's attending the event as well, and Arnold Allen, and we'll see how that goes. I'm just waiting to hear back from the UFC, and whatever they want, I'm here to fight. Merab Dvalishvili explains wanting to fight Sean O'Malley in November, but not Umar Nurmagomedov. Merab Dvalishvili realized his lifelong goal of becoming a UFC champion after beating Sean O'Malley at UFC 306 in September. With contender Umar Nurmagomedov assumed to be next in line for a title shot, Dvalishvili's recent comments have confused fans. Merab stated that he would not be interested in facing Nurmagomedov until February-March, and would be open to a rematch with O'Malley as early as November 2024. Young Eagle accused the bantamweight champion of trying to schedule their title clash for the month of Ramadan to face a diminished version of Nurmagomedov Nurmagomedov. During a recent interview with MMA Junkie, the Georgian explained why he would be open to facing O'Malley far sooner than Nurmagomedov. "I already fought him, and it's easy to come back because we're both in the same situation. We both fought on September 14th, and we would both step back into the octagon on the same day. But when somebody else has been ready for me, preparing for me, that's a different story. With O'Malley, it's easy. We're both in the same situation. That's why I told him we could do a quick turnaround for November. But to fight somebody new, somebody with a different style, yeah, I need time. I need 2 or 3 months." Arman Tsarukyan says Michael Chandler is easy money for Charles Oliveira. After 2 years out of action, Michael Chandler is finally making his octagon return, facing Charles Oliveira at UFC 309 next month. Ahead of the clash, number 1 ranked lightweight contender Arman Tsarukyan predicted the fight, deeming it easy money for Oliveira. In a recent interview with MMA Junkie, Arman shared his thoughts on the Oliveira versus Chandler fight. He said he believes Iron is definitely going to lose, and that it will be an easy fight for the Brazilian. Michael Chandler is going to lose for sure. It's the number 1 easy fight for Charles Oliveira. It's easy money for Oliveira. I'm so happy for him. Arman notably shared the octagon with Charles at UFC 300. Both fighters enjoyed moments of success in their back-and-forth 3-round clash, and ultimately, Arman came away with a split decision victory. Diego Lopes welcomes potential Alexander Volkanovski fight at UFC 312 in Sydney. 3 days out from UFC 308, Diego doesn't know. He's the emergency backup for the featherweight title fight between Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway at Etihad Arena on Yas Island. In usual classy fashion, Diego explained that he hopes his services are not needed. He wishes both main event competitors the best and is as excited as the fans to see the fight. Should he not fight, it's possible the stars will align for a UFC 312 battle versus Alexander Volkanovski in Sydney. Diego loves that idea and said if his services aren't needed at UFC 308, he's ready and hopeful a fight versus Volkanovski comes to fruition. "I'm training for both guys. I'm ready for everything, bro. I hope Friday morning that everything is okay and the guys stay healthy for the fight this Saturday. I'm so excited for this Saturday night. But if the UFC needs me, I'm ready. I'm ready for the fight versus Volkanovski in Australia. I think it's the biggest deal for the division for the next title fight. If the UFC me as the fighter to fight Volkanovski in Australia, I'm ready. Title or no title, I'm excited for the fight versus Volk." Max Holloway reacts to the cool idea of fight against fellow Hawaiian for the BMF title. Max Holloway seemed excited to defend the BMF title against a fellow Hawaiian UFC fighter, but was skeptical about the chances of the fight taking place in their homeland. Holloway won the BMF title with a historic KO of his predecessor Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 in April. UFC featherweight contender and Hawaii's own Dan Ige stepped up on 3 hours' notice to take on Diego Lopes and produced a respectable performance at UFC 303. During the UFC 308 Media Day interaction, journalists pitched the idea of Holloway versus Ige for the BMF title. That'd be amazing, right? 2 Hawaiians at the top of it, the pinnacle. It would be cool. In Hawaii, that's probably not going to happen. It's not a UFC problem in Hawaii. It's a Hawaii problem. I don't know what's going down in Hawaii. I don't know why they give us so much hard time when I had the belt and we had the opportunities to do it. But it's a Hawaii thing. The next big thing would probably be in Las Vegas. With that, 2 Hawaiians fighting for the BMF belt, I couldn't see something more fitting. It'd be funny.